Kia ora. Today I'm going to answer your questions from earlier this week. But first, let me introduce you to one of my favourite critters from Buzzz, native Bugs of Aotearoa. Naokioke, peripatus. Look under those rotten logs and damp slabs of rock. You might see a brightly coloured crawler with soft skin and many legs that look like puffy clown pants. Naokioke are commonly called peripatus. The peripatus is a night hunter with an incredible secret weapon. It has two little nozzles near its eyes which shoot out long strands of sticky goo. The nozzles swivel so that the strands cross and trap prey in a slimy net. Stick 'em up! Ah, I've been slimed! Once slimed, the peripatus inject their prey with saliva which dissolves the insect. Next, they slice into their prey and suck up the gooey insides. Ugh, gross! You know, there's many more fascinating and quite frankly disgusting facts in Buzzz, native Bugs of Aotearoa. Right, I have a list of your questions from earlier this week. Someone's asked, what is your favourite thing to draw? Like most big kids, I love drawing dinosaurs and dragons, and I love historical subjects, but one of the things I really like to draw are octopuses. They're fascinating creatures, quite cute and really fun to draw. In fact, you may find octopuses in many of my books, even books that have got nothing to do with the sea, so keep an eye out for octopuses in my books. The next question is, if you were a bug, what would you be? Well, I think I'd like to be a rhinoceros beetle. You know, they're pretty cool with their big horns and everything, and besides, rhinoceros beetles live for quite a long time, which is quite a big thing. You know, if there's one thing that I've learnt making Buzzz, is that most insects spend a huge amount of their life being a tiny little grub that lives in a tree trunk eating sap or bark. And some of them spend only a very short amount of time actually being the insect that we know them. Some of them only a week or a couple of days. So a rhinoceros beetle lives for a few years, so I think that's practically an eternity in bug life. So yeah, I think I might be a rhinoceros beetle. Next question is, what is your favourite New Zealand bug? I'm not really much of a fan of things that scuttle, so I'm going to say the kapawai, the giant New Zealand dragonfly. The next question is, what was your favourite bug to draw in Buzzz? Giant centipede, the hura. You know, it can twist and wriggle in a really dynamic way, which made it really fun to draw. What is the trickiest insect to draw? That one's easy, spiders. It's all those blimmin' legs. You know, it's like sometimes when you're drawing a spider, you can't see the spider for the amount of legs that are in the way. Here's an interesting question. Have you ever eaten a bug? Well, no, I haven't ever eaten a New Zealand bug, but I have eaten a scorpion. If I recall correctly, it tasted like crunchy chips, but kind of chewy. Someone asks, which illustration from any of your books are you most proud of and why? I often think that making a book, the artwork is the entire book, and it can be quite difficult to take out an individual picture. In that regard, one of my favourite works would have to be probably the Great Kiwi Bedtime Book. I love the way that the whole book is one big continuous long image, and it's like you're travelling through the evening, through the sunset, over the hills, down into the valley below and into the night until eventually you meet a kiwi who's just waking up. But, you know, I really, really love making all sorts of books. I think I'd be really bored if I was just doing one style of illustration or one type of book. So, you know, an illustration like the crazy Māori pa from the Good Old Lookie book is one of my favourite pictures. I mean, it's just so full of fun and energy, and it's the type of picture that I want to be in. I love going back to this picture every time and seeing something new. And I'm the person who did it, so that's a pretty good sign that it's an interesting picture. On the other hand, I've got my entire work on my biography of Leonardo da Vinci. This was like a lifetime's worth of work making this book, and there are many, many pictures in this book that I'm incredibly proud of. One of my favorite pictures is a very personal picture for me. I went to the house where Leonardo da Vinci grew up in Anciano, just up the hill from Vinci. When I look at this illustration, it takes me back 500 years and lets me sit right next to Leonardo da Vinci, who sat at this spot and drew one of his first ever surviving pictures on the 5th of August, 1473, when he was 21 years old. It's the type of picture I look at and go, I wish I'd drawn that picture. I hope that answered all your questions, and if I didn't get round to answering your question, I'll try and make a personal post to you on Instagram. Until next time, kia pai tō rā.